On a cold, leery night, the wind howling as we approached the Victorian mansion that had been willed to our family from my great aunt Rosemary. In our van was my wife Kiki and I, along with our 6 children, Shira, Kelsey, Brandon, Aubrey, Maddie, and Elijah. We watched in awe as the house stood up like a rundown palace. I told my wife, we can definitely do something with this. As we stepped inside, we feel a bit uneasy. The entryway lights are dimly lit and going out and in. The home had a whole unnerving aura inside. The kids take a look around the house, and while they're doing that, the lawyer began to talk to my wife and me and tells us that the home was once a home to a convent of nuns. These nuns had a supposed run-in with a malevolent spirit called Valek. My wife and I looked at each other. WTF crosses our mind. Then we agreed to give it a chance because we needed a home that was big enough to fit our family. So we agreed to stay, but we agreed not to tell our kids what was said. Late one night, as the moon cast an eerie shadow through the stained glass windows, a figure in which I assumed was my imagination of this cloaked woman in black appearing at the end of the corridor. I had an immediate feeling of fear as I got closer and I realized this was not just my imagination going wild. I really seen this. My wife and children arrive and see what I'm looking at. Terror gripped as our hearts started pounding, as her ghastly scream sent shivers down our spine. The haunting escalated as we started to run. The doors slammed, windows closed. All of the pictures that my wife so nicely hung up on the wall started to shatter on the floor, and the screeching moving up and down the halls. Desperate for help, we asked for help from one of our local churches, who the pastor was ironically called Papa John and owned a Papa John's franchise, who was well known for his pizzas in the area, but was also known for his skills in slaying demons. Papa John, the pastor, arrived shortly after we called. He said he could hear in our voices how urgent it was and came. He had scars on his face and arms from the battles with other demons and encounters with malevolent spirits, but he had a type of peace about him. I showed him the house, my wife and children following close behind because they're afraid. He tells us this place is saturated with evil completely. He has many weapons that fight in spiritual warfare. He prepared himself to go into war against Valek. As the exorcism began, the atmosphere crackled with tension and the heaviness filled the air. Papa John began commanding the darkness to leave and Valek to leave. The house began to shake as terrible shrieking ensnared the house. The beams of the house broke. A storm began outside with howling wind and loud thunder roaring. Valek was fighting to remain in control. Valek shimmers into a closet, and the priest and I follow inside the closet. This is a big closet. And inside of the closet was a whole bunch of pages to a book. They all flipped at one time and unveiled a drawing of a nun. As the priest went closer, the nun abruptly grabs his throat, and the pastor's calling out the demon, screaming, and parts of the pastor's skin starts falling off and ripping and scratch. Finish his prayer, and the pastor pulls out a water balloon filled with holy water. I kid you not, throws it into the face of the demon, and the pastor finished his prayer, and the demon left us. Valek no longer felt in the home. We now had peace. We decided to restore the home, happy that the evil was gone. The presence was no longer here. The whole entire ordeal was behind us, and our family now having a sense of love, respect, and happiness. Our faith has become stronger and we never had to go through any issues after that.